And we are, hello everybody, welcome to Don's Podcast, the number one podcast in pro wrestling history. And today's guest, we have the owner and COO of the biggest pro wrestling fed. We have Kidzrock and iBrookesie. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
No, I mean, I think you said it fine. I'm chairman of RCW as is, and Brooke's the CEO. She might not answer to start. She's in the middle of a match, but hey, that's fine. She'll join in when she's finished with that, and I can handle it till then. So, whatever need be.
Sorry, I'm in match.
Oh, okay. So Brookesie, I have just asked, do you want to introduce yourself? So, do you want to introduce yourself right now?
I think Kid said it mostly. Sorry, I'll talk more in a minute. Whenever this is done.
Okay.
Yeah, that's who she is. You can hopefully tell the two voices apart, I would hope, but if not, then yeah.
Okay. So, Kid, you're the owner of what most people would say the best federation in pro wrestling history. Would you have thought like your federation would got the biggest or the best federation of pro wrestling history? Did you know it was going to reach this high, or did you think it was going to be one of their mid-card feds?
Well, like when I started it, and like even not to get ahead of myself with any value of my federation or whatnot. Number one is a very contested spot. It's very opinionated. It's a lot of preference. I mean, there's forwards and drawbacks to both, but No, when I started, I honestly would say no. I did not think that it was gonna. Not many people at all that started fan. They have aspirations to be number one. They do want to be number one, but it's a very high and prestigious spot, which is very in some turmoil right now. There's some debates as to what's number one, and if you ask Sonic, he's gonna say it's TNX. If you ask Silento, he's gonna say it's ORW. If you anyone with their own fed that's in a high card position is gonna say they're number one, but. That's for the future to tell, really. But no, I didn't think it would get as big as it is. If not to get ahead of myself, but I'd say it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be with my amount of experience I started it with. But 3 years later, you get a little bit of experience of what you do.
Okay, and what do you think really made people want to join this fed? What do you think inspired people to join this fed and come to shows every single night, not every single night, but every single show, and just keep coming to your shows? What do you think really made them keep coming to your shows?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, anyone that doesn't really know the history of RCW is obviously no fed starts being the starts off being the number one, starts being and again, not to say that we even are number one at this moment. I mean, that's, again, like I said in the previous question, but it was only like a year ago, August 2015, when we started to get more highly developed in our fed and started, gaining in popularity. Because prior to that, our peaks were, 35 in attendance, which is good, but that would be our, absolute best. That would be the top that we would get in that circumstance. Now it's 50 on a lot more regular basis. That's just a year later, but I think it's just a lot of the dedication that goes into it, because we run most feds that are at the top in higher echelon levels, like a high level, are sort of 2 shows a week, and that's fine. If you can only make running 2 shows a week, which some of them are older than I am, I think all of them are older, so the schedule is a lot harder. But we put our heart and soul, I guess you would say, on the risk of sounding too into running a federation, into all 4 that we put out. That's Raw, SmackDown, Saturday Morning Slam, and Outbreak. So it's a lot of the dedication, a lot of the environment. It's also I would honestly credit us with a lot of unknown people succeeding. Nobody hears about people like Madness 320, our current world heavyweight champion, or someone like Golden Ninja. They're not the low card jobbers that a lot of people would interpret them to be. They have their own potential, but no other fed. Because of how they look, how they act, how much they're known prior to that, it's a very elite attitude, as though they can't make it. And it's people like that if they do make it, then good on them for making it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, Brookesie, you are the number one woman woman wrestler of pro wrestling, and a lot of people can agree on that. You 3-0'd Boss Raymondo, a legend of pro wrestling. Who do you think is, really, really, how would I put this, close to or second best? That did not really come out right.
Honestly, that's a pretty hard question. I haven't fought a lot of women recently because I've only really been going to feds where I've been able to fight in the men's division because it's sort of my preference, but God, that's hard. From RCW, I mean, I don't know. I put on a really good match with McCool at TNX, in my opinion. It was really close. So I guess McCool, Fearless Sox, Talia, I think.
Okay.
But it's really hard to say because I haven't fought most of them recently.
If I could sort of, add on to that is, a lot of them get under-recognized because of certain treatment that they get in certain places. It's like, I do feel like they should be allowed to, if they want to compete in the men's division, I feel like they should be completely allowed to, and if they're not, if they're not able to hold up to the men's division, if they're not good enough, to be very blunt with the term there, very, broad with the term, if they can't hold up with the men's competition, then they won't hold up with the men's competition if they can, and there's a lot of talented enough people that can hold up with the women's division. Some just base names that come off to, like what Brooke said, McCool, Talia, Arola, Fearless, like that's just a few I can name off. There's a lot more, again, that's not the only ones, but those ones good enough to hold up with the men's division, and if they're given the chance, I'm sure that they will. I mean, Fearless was the runner-up to the RCW number one contendership. Clearly there is enough talent there.
Yeah, that's what I was starting to say with Fearless Sox. From RCW, I've seen her fight in the men's division quite a lot because we don't really have a unique women's division, and she's been kicking ass. I mean, she's been in a lot of multi-men matches, but I remember when she first joined, she went like 5-0, like on a win streak, and she was put like not in easy matches, so I was sort of impressed.
Okay, and let's move on to some of these chat questions because these chat questions are just exploding right now. Opinion on manslaughter, Ian, for both of you. Who wants to go first?
I mean, he's he comes up to me a lot, and he tries to talk to me a lot, and that's fine. And sometimes you're in the mood to talk to people, sometimes you're not in the mood to talk to people. It's just how it is. And I don't have a problem with the dude. I certainly don't have a problem with the dude. But yeah, he's a... And then, I don't even know how really else to explain it. I mean, I've seen that he's made some improvements in the other federations that he's gone, so good on him for that. I mean, I've seen him win championships at PCW, at... I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, Brooks, do you want to add anything on that?
I don't think there's much I can add. I don't really know Manslaughter Ian too well. But like Kid said about him winning titles in PCW and such.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't really have much input on that.
Oh shit. Here's a question about GMT wrestlers and the Eastern wrestlers. Who do you think who has the most talent right now? The Eastern Feds? Not Eastern Feds, I mean the Eastern wrestlers or the GMT wrestlers?
It's like EST versus GMT, and sorry, quick point to what people are commenting right now. Our mics sound fine in the call, I have no idea. It sounded echoey on the stream is the thing. I don't understand how that's happening.
I mean the Eastern
but yeah, anyway, but EST versus GMT, that's a mucky subject, I mean... I don't know so much that there is a definitive thing, because there's a lot of good GMT and there's a lot of bad GMT. There's a lot of good EST, there's a lot of bad EST. There's a lot of good and bad of both, so...
I mean, it's really hard to say. GMT's got some big names, like, they got Diddy and Boss and Newman, and some of those people actually do compete in EST feds too. And Rudy, like you said. They got a lot of big names, and EST's got, like, Eddie and Damon. A lot of big names there too, so I mean... Both time zones are really big names.
Yeah, I think
it's really hard to say.
head.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is your opinion on the new gen wrestlers now? Myself, I'm a new gen wrestler. I'm not quite sure if you two are new gen wrestlers, but what is your opinion on the new gen wrestlers?
New gen wrestlers, I mean, like, if they're willing to put the effort in, and like I said, I don't want to address to pro wrestling like it's something as though it's your entire life, like it's a real life sport. But I mean, it's obviously not. But I mean, if you put if you put enough effort to working to become good, you know, New Gen. I mean, you gotta think Eddie is a New Gen. He's been around since late 2013 or 2014 kind of region, and that's only like 2.5 years. That's kind of in the New Gen region, but he's definitely one of the top dogs. Damon's only been doing it for about a year and a half, and he's also, like I said, but at the same time, you also got your really good old gens. You know, you got Brock, you got. I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking of who is New Gen, who is Old Gen, but I mean, definitely, like, I don't think the term Old Gen or New Gen begins to describe the talent that some people would have. I mean, it's not like it's not like Old Gen are good, New Gen are bad, or New Gen are up to date, and Old Gen are out of date. It's like it's just an individual basis. It's not really generalized to your I don't know, generalized to when you joined, really.
Okay, and Brookesie, do you want to add anything on that?
I mean, sort of what he said. I mean, there are a lot of good new gens, like he said, Eddie. There still are some old gens that still compete, and they're pretty good, too. I mean, like Brock, for example.
Yeah,
so, I mean, each generation has talent. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to word them.
Well, also, like, you gotta imagine back, like, the fighting styles that we have, the cleans that we use, the methods, the rules, everything about that has very much changed in the times. Like, you know, I'm sure one fall system used to be really more common. Then they had that whatever they had with the in-ring, and then if not, then you decide if it's ring only or whatever. Like, the rules really changed. Now it seems to be either some feds will do 2 out of 3 and first to 3, or more commonly, as I find, it's 1 in or some out. So the rules change. So you got to give credit to any old gen that is good. You really got to give them credit that they're able to adapt at the times, because the fighting styles have changed, the cleans have changed, the rules have changed. Everything about what they did years ago has changed, but they still maintain being good. So you got to give them credit for that, no doubt, no doubt.
Okay, and what is your opinion on David?
David. He was a former multi-time global champion in RCW. I would not be able to name every single accomplishment he has. Like I said, I'm not too updated with everybody's accomplishments. I know he's got CCW and Continental. I don't know if he still has that or if he had that a few days ago, but whatever the circumstance. Either way, he's really good. I fought him on a handful of occasions, and the guy is very good. Definitely very underrated. All the cliche stuff that you would say about anyone, but it's true with this guy. Is people don't really see him as good as some people should. He's pretty good, and I feel enough dedication to it. He can be pretty good.
Yeah, from what I've seen, David hasn't failed to impress me yet. From RCW, like Kid said, he's a multi-time global champion, and he's had some pretty good matches with who's in the divisions, like King Booker. There's a triple threat with him, King Booker, and Frodo. That was a pretty good match.
All really good people, and for him to come out on top on it, even a few occasions, is phenomenal. He's definitely really good.
Okay, and what do you think of King X Extreme? What do you think of King X Extreme?
KRX? King X Extreme? I haven't seen too much of him. I mean, from the matches that I've seen, he doesn't seem too bad. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's quite up there in the terms of Eddie's, Damon's, Brock's, Finn's, all those people, like all the cliche names that you would put into the higher card. He doesn't seem like he's quite there yet, but he definitely seems like he's improved. I saw him. I do recall meeting him back in 2014 in the summer in some little fed OSW that I think he ran. And on the handful of times I saw him fight as a reaction to that, he seemed like he wasn't as good back then as he is now. So I mean, improvement is good. Improvement on his behalf is good. So much respect for that improvement. You know, that's even if you aren't quite up to the top level, if you've improved, then that's enough to say that you're working to become a higher name. You know.
Yeah. Do you want to add on anything on that, Brooke?
I don't personally know King R Extreme too well, but I mean, talent-wise, he seems pretty good from what I've seen. Wasn't he in the, booked at TNX, John? I forgot.
Yeah, global triple threat. I think he was pretty close to one, if I'm not mistaken.
He got taken out because he was typing or something, but
I don't know what circumstance. I don't want to get into the mucky details of that, because I know, Sonic and him have some beef about the decision made that night, and I won't elaborate further on that, because I'm not here to slander anyone on their decisions. Their decisions are their decisions and their decisions alone. So.
Okay, and this is a question from Mazel. What is your opinion on Mazel having to 1v1 5 to 6 people at RCW?
I'm going to take an assumption that Mazel's means sort of an opinion on doing that and then not getting the title or N1C in the end. And that is tragic if that was the circumstance, 5-on-1, 6-on-1, whatever the circumstance. Sometimes you just can't help it. You're going to team, but I really think, that's certainly a test of skill there. And if he was able to hold all that and then barely come short, then good on him, Good on him. It's a show of talent. It's definitely some improvement that he could make. Sorry. It shows that. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just good on him for being really good and talented to hold that.
I mean, sometimes being in that situation, sometimes like I don't know. It's like if you had more time, like the thing is, RCW doesn't really have its unique time slot. It like we only get 2 hours to run before BCW starts running, so sometimes kids have to book bigger matches to get everybody booked for. They have to go to BCW or PCW even.
Yeah.
Both feds are on Mondays. One at 7:30, one at 8.
Okay, and what is your opinion on Rudy, the demon of GMT? What opinion on him?
Brooke, do you want to start or do you want me to?
Sure. I really like Rudy. He's been one of my friends. We've Skyped him a lot. He's pretty talented. His entrances never fail to entertain me and impress me. So that's about all I have to say.
Sort of add on what Brooke said, good on him. He puts a lot of dedication into his character, both the tires, entrances, and again, there's been controversy with his attires. I don't know what the circumstances is with him and Finn on that, but his match with Finn at Summer Clash, I can't remember whether it's Summer Bash or Summer Clash, but it's UKW Summer Clash, I think won. It was a good match between two, from what I saw of it, because I only saw bits and pieces of it, but it was pretty good, so I would give him, I would honestly say he's a really talented dude. I've had matches with him where he was definitely the better man that night, and I've had matches with him where, I won't go into details in that regard, but I've had much easier matches with him, and I've had much harder matches with him, so if he can stay on top of his game for the majority of the time, he would be phenomenal in his character, his entrance, his execution, and how talented he is. He'd be the unstoppable force of GMT, and he's made it pretty good in EST. I mean, I know he's had some success with RWE and N1Cs. OW. Oh, no, okay, never mind. My bad. Sorry, got off track there. But yeah, and as a friend, he's definitely a good friend. I was in his Fed. Extreme, what was it? What was it? Extreme. What was the second letter? I cannot remember. Give me a second, I will figure that out. Extreme Elite Wrestling, and I had a great time in that Fed. I was World Heavyweight Champion 3 times. Their longest training and their shortest training, but that belt's an experience. And him being a great friend, and he's one of the top GMT in my opinion, no doubt.
Okay, and have you ever went to a federation called CCW? This federation is owned by Boss Raymondo.
Have I gone to CCW? Yeah, I've gone to CCW. I'd say I'm pretty successful for in terms of CCW. I mean, like two-time undisputed champion, two-time CCW champion, three-time world heavyweight champion. Pretty good success in world titles there. So I don't know. I mean, I've been there. I've done a lot too there. And before Brooke goes on with her experiences, because I know she's got her own experience with CCW, do you have any clue, because I was listening to the stream, some other people have been messaging me about, I don't know if they're messaging you or if you see it in the comments, people are saying it's like echoey with our mics. Would you know what that would be? Because our mics sound fine in the call, but
yeah,
like on the stream it's delivering as echoey, and I don't know.
People have been messaging me.
Well, I think that is my OBS has been quite laggy recently. I think this is the first time it's ever been laggy, so I think that's just OBS kind of bugging out, I guess.
I think it's me. I'll leave the call.
Oh, okay.
Alright, well, we'll see if that helps, but if not, Brooke, I guess give it a test and go ahead with your thoughts on CCW, I guess.
The main question was not CCW. I was actually trying to see if you're active in CCW for the both of you.
Okay.
Are you both active in CCW right now?
I was at their pay-per-view, but I'm not currently active, but I'm probably going to return being active there, because their pay-per-view was only this past weekend, so I'll probably get back into being full active there, hopefully.
Okay, now, I'm not quite sure if you're able to answer this, but Manslaw has given up his NSW championship for CCW, and that was the main reason I asked you, like, are you active in CCW? Because if you wasn't, you would not be able to ask this question. So, are you able to answer this question? Any of you?
Good. Yes. No, I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, if he's aspiring to higher titles, then good for him. That's not bad. Basically, all I gotta say about that is good for him if he's trying to move up. Higher titles, higher reward.
Alright.
Yeah.
Now, Brookesie, this is a question for you. You are able to answer this first. Brookesie, what is your opinion on the pre-Taker's career?
I mean, I've known Pretty for like a long time because we both used to be in RCW. He was in it longer than me, and when I first met him, he was an absolute jobber. Just saying. Like, no offense, Pretty. He was really bad back then. But ever since, he's become very accomplished in RCW and in other places. In RCW, he's a multi-time RCW champion, like record-breaking. I think he has the longest reign most times. He's an RCW champion, he's a tag team champion. In RCW, he's a United States champion. I mean, that's just a couple. I'm tag team champs with him in TNX right now. So, I mean, yeah, he's become pretty accomplished
and pretty talented, not just fluke accomplishments. Yeah. He's definitely increased in his ability, no doubt.
Okay.
He kicks my ass sometimes.
What is your opinion on meme or memeth? I'm not quite sure if I should just call it meme or memeth.
He seems like a memeth or save us meme or whatever username he is currently using when you're watching this. Regardless, meme, however he words his name. To be honest, I didn't see much. I mean, at first, don't get me wrong, he did phenomenal in the Global and Cena. If he can go all the way, win the Global title, fantastic for him. Yeah, that's the best he wants to do. Best case scenario, but I was not expecting him to win the Global and Cena. It was 2 days, literally 2 days ago. That's how quick. He seems very over with the fans, and for good reason. He seems like a nice guy. I haven't had a negative experience as a person with him, so he's a nice person. He seems definitely talented. I mean, won the Global and Cena, so like I said, it's a good combination. See if he can do it at SummerSlam, or he's just going to flash the pan with that, and we'll see. Brooke? Anything else?
I mean, pretty much what you said. Just he seems nice. He's over with the crowd right now. Seems pretty talented. I have no issues with the guy. He's been pretty nice to me. So I mean, I don't really know him that great, but
yeah, he seems like a good person. In your anyway, do you want to ask me any questions now? Because I always do this. It's like every podcast I do this. Do you want to ask me any questions?
If I had to ask you a question, sort of progress this forward. I mean, I feel like this has already been asked. But do you have any reason why you? I would say why you continually do, but why you started the O'Donnell podcast? Like, did you have an inspiration to start up this podcast? You know?
Yeah. I'm always gonna say this. I watched Dylan Brown's podcast, and I saw he didn't upload anymore, so he was the one that inspired me to do my podcast, and it's the #1 podcast in Pro Wrestling today.
Yeah, true. Well, definitely some good progress, good inspiration. I watched his podcast, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here.
Do you want to ask me anything, Brooksy, or do you want to just move on to something else?
I guess just move on. I can't think of anything right now. Sorry.
No problem. I want to ask you a question. It's a bit off task, but this is still a question. On Friday, I'll be leaving to go pro. What federation would you recommend me going?
You mean like you want to experiment around in the pros?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the easiest thing for me to do would be to recommend my own, but I would not honestly know. It's really about what you're looking for, and you also gotta because you're GMT, or are you 5 hours ahead of EST, or 4?
4 hours ahead.
Okay, 4 hours ahead. So time slots wouldn't be too hard for you to make, but if you went to anyone that started at 7, which would be your big ones would be like VCW or WTNX. If you went to any of those, it might be a bit of a drawback because it would be at 11, but I don't think that's too much of an issue because this podcast was going to happen originally if events, I don't know what caused it not to, but I don't really mind one way or another. It could have been happening at like 3 o'clock in the morning for you, so I'm not so sure that time's your issue, but maybe during the school year it might be, so those would be, but it's really timelines and how fair it is of an environment are two really big things. So sometimes you gotta experiment with those. I find their series pretty fair in terms of all around being fair in the time slots usually work, but sure there's a lot of other feds that would have similar things to say about themselves.
Okay, and RCW, I had to look at the war and the number 1 contenders, and I had to look at my friend. He's not too good, but he's still a number 1 contender, and I'm wondering to myself, either he got a really easy match, and I'm not trying to hate on him at all, but in the big fed like RCW, I'm really curious he got a number 1 contenders match, and that really shows me that you give everybody a chance just by looking at that. Normally feds just give the big people all the number 1 contenders, but it seems like you give everybody a chance. Would you agree on that, or would you decline?
Yeah, and maybe I could offer some context as to whoever the person is. Who's the person you?
Rick. He is the. I forgot. What
that was IX Rick the Monster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. His doesn't seem like be going out soon because I can never catch Wax Swagger and that's the Outbreak TV, so that would be it depends on how you see it, but value-wise that's typically the lowest one there because it's sort of like the rookie brand secondary title, but it still takes good amount of talent to do it, but that one's a battle royal circumstance. But like you were saying, I don't have a problem. I'm not gonna prejudge anybody. I'm not gonna have any prejudice against somebody before they even come to my fed. You gotta see what they're about. Some people aren't gonna make it. Some people are gonna make it, but you gotta give everyone that fair shot to make it before you can say they're not going to.
Okay, and wait, let me just have a look in the chat quickly. Opinion on
main champion, depending on which more you value, ORW or Blocks heavyweight. But regardless, one of the world champions at Fed, so obviously I can't go off saying anything negative about it, but I don't really have anything that negative to say about it. I'm aware that the environment has had its riggings, and it's more than likely not the only 2 times. Eddie said this, but I've had discussions with Eddie, and this has been what I've been saying, and he's been adding on to it, so it's fine that he said it, but I'm just going to end up saying it again, is they more than likely have rigged more than 2 times, because I doubt that the only 2 times they ever rigged were the 2 times they were caught, like he said. But I would hope that with this incident, and this is, not an insult to Droid, I would hope that at this point, since they've been caught twice, I would hope that he doesn't do it anymore, that he knows better than to do it anymore, because it's, you can't rig, well you can rig, but you shouldn't rig wrestling, because it's a...
Yeah, if you want to rig, go to an RP fed.
Yeah, that's where the predetermined. You can't, nothing surprising, nothing good, and the best results are the ones you didn't expect,
Yeah.
Because it would have been easy for me to rig that night against when it was Golden versus Rudy Ballard, and Golden picked up that shock win. It would have been easy for me to rig to make sure Rudy kept looking strong. But if Rudy couldn't handle that, oh damn it! But if he couldn't handle that match, then That's nothing else you can do. If Golden was a better man, Golden was a better man. You can't You can't have your own favorites when you're trying to build up a fair environment. Like, you can have favorites, but you can't let those favorites get ahead of you. So I would really hope that in this current day, ORW does not rig anymore. I cannot say for certain, but I hope that they don't, and I hope that they're better than that now. And I trust that he is. I trust that he is. And I get people don't want to really give ORW the shot after they have done it twice. But
I mean, pretty much what Kid said. I mean, I really hope he doesn't rig anymore, but even with the rigging, I still go just because it's sort of a nice environment. It's fun. I mean, it's just a different vibe. It's a fun pet to go to, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, you know.
Personally. I mean, not everyone will feel that way, but I personally enjoy it.
Okay. And, what is your opinion on... Did your mic go, or...?
Oh, no, sorry. I had to cough there. I muted my mic, so...
Okay, so, what is your opinion on... Wait, let me just read this question. Do you think David should end his career in the Eastern area, or any Eastern feds?
Does he currently have plans to end his career?
I'm not quite sure. He says he's just wondering, do you think he should end his career and stay with GMT?
I don't think that the question of EST or GMT should really come into a factor. Assuming, again, I'm not saying that this man should end his career, but if that is his desire to end his career, then I don't think that, EST or GMT should be the big question he's asking. I think what he should be asking is where he feels most comfortable, Like, I might be EST and my phone might be EST, but if I felt most comfortable ending my career at UKW, CCW, WRW, Rudy's New Fed, if I felt most comfortable ending it there, then that's where I'm going to end it. It's an individual Fed basis, not like a, time zone basis. When I feel comfortable ending it, I will end it where I feel most comfortable, not what time zone I feel most comfortable.
Okay, and wait, let me just have a look on the chat because I haven't looked on the chat for a long time. Damn it. Don't know the geography questions. Kid and Brookie, if you had to choose the top 5 upcoming talents in RCW, who would you choose and why?
If I had to pick 5 that I think are okay, little hard word that apparently. By up and coming, I'm going to assume from anyone that's not, already like a huge name. Like obviously Eddie and Damon aren't going to be the upcoming stars because they kind of already big. But a few that are up and coming, I would say a few of them. And again, there's a lot more than 5, and these aren't in any particular order. And if I left you out, and you wanted to hear your name, then sorry, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? But yeah, there's a lot of people that have the potential, and with our Feast or Fire that's coming up on August 14th, SummerSlam, guarantee we're going to get one of those 10 stars. At the very least, one of the 10 of those is going to be future world champion with the world title case. It's going to be a minor one, but like I said, there's a lot of potential coming up, but a few of them that immediately come to mind, Matt Hardy has been doing fantastic, and he's sort of already a global champion 2 times over. But I think that, like, now that he's in the Road WWE division, which is sort of a world division there, world title division, I feel like he could capitalize on that, become a huge star. Also in the Road WWE division, Justin and Jaden, I'll sort of tie those in together, sort of all 3 of those tied together as one sort of thing, because whichever one of those wins could be an up-and-coming star, because that's their world title win, and 1 out of 3 of those would be winning his Triple Crown Championship if he does that. Brooke, do you have anyone?
Honestly, I was just gonna say Matt Hardy, because he's just the first guy that pops into my head. I've been incredibly impressed by him ever since he came to RCW, actually. I underestimated him at first, but he was a former global champion, and he did a whole bunch of open challenges with it, and now he's going for his first world title, the Road WWE Championship, and if he wins it, I mean, that'll make him one of the quickest uprising stars in a long time.
If I had to add 2 more, because I already kind of said the 3 that were in that destiny creating Fatal 4 third WWE title. I'm going to avoid saying David because I sort of already praised David on this stream for being as good as he is and as underrated as he is. Proto is also someone who's not quite underrated because people know how good he is. And, I could say anyone. I could say any top card. I could say, Ethan could be one, but Ethan's already very established outside of RCW. But in this case, I'd be counting RCW, accomplishments only. I would say Proto is one of the guys that's definitely going to be up and rising in RCW. Obviously, I know he's succeeded elsewhere. So RCW isn't his first fed, his first thing. And one of the top guys that sticks out to me. So I was just going through my rosters, checking them out. Anarchy's one. I think he's going to get something out of here eventually. And a lot of the other people, again, like I said, it's hard to just pick 5. Another one that really impresses me in the Feast or Fired. I'll probably wrap this up because I'm going really long on this one question, but Shock Styles is also very impressive. I've been in the ring with him on, I think, 2 occasions, and I think I won both, but I think I barely won both, so... And again, I'm not using myself as a measuring stick for talent here, but he's certainly very good. He's given me hard challenges anytime I fought him, so... Expecting good out of everyone in that Fatal 4-Way, and a lot more. Shock, Anarchy, Proto, lots of people. It's going to be... This new era is going to bring a lot of people.
Okay, and I just want to say this for people who may or may not have joined your federation. So these people, they want to make a star or a name for yourself in your federation. What's your main tip if they just want to join, or they've just joined like for one show and they really want to get big? How would you say to get big in your own federation?
What would be my tip? My tip for that would be really start, like we send them to Outbreak to start, and if you amaze us in Outbreak or you win title in Outbreak, then you're up to main roster. Sort of like a really quick system, but it's just like, because there's a lot of people who have been in Outbreak for a long time, but they haven't quite hit that mark to become good enough for the main roster yet in our eyes, or they're not active enough. Then it sort of filters out. Because if I ranked every single person that came to our Fed to the main roster immediately, then we'd have hundreds upon hundreds, because there's people that just come and go, there's people that come to one show, and they're never there again. If I ranked that one person that came to one show to main roster, then we'd have a lot of clearing to do, so it's just easier to put them to Outbreak. But if you do well in Outbreak, and really the best thing, and it's really what Pro Wrestling should be about, is just be as good as you can, put some effort in, put some effort towards getting better, and the better you are, like not to say that if you're not the best guy out there that you're never going to win something, because there's opportunity for everyone, but do the best you can, fight all your matches with all your effort, and try to improve yourself. And that's how any Fed should work. The better you are, the more effort you put in, then you should eventually find some success, and that's an environment we try to uphold. I'm not sure how Brooke feels, but I should hope it's something similar.
I mean, my advice would just be patient and come to shows, pretty much. Because I see a lot of people come to, like, debut and such, before they get the chance, they leave. It's like, Kids tries his best to book everyone as quick as he can, but he can't always, book you right away, or book you within the first hour. He tries his best, and, even if you... I don't know how to it's like... And even just if you call a lot, like, even if you call a lot, you still get opportunity, just, because he sees that you're loyal and you're active.
The people that put the time in to come to the Fed, then...
They put the time and the effort into coming, and you get rewarded, pretty much.
Okay, so, this is a really stupid question, and after, I'm gonna ask you a really serious question. But, I've just checked out your group. There is most of your members are fans. Are these people that just don't attend shows, or you just can't be bothered to rank them up?
Well, a lot of them, we've been around for what's coming up to 3 years, and, obviously not every single person that ever joined the group is going to be active, and as you can see, I'm looking at it myself now, there's a few alts there. I'm trying to keep recent alts that are joining, and kick some ones from the past as well. Try to, kick those out of the group, because they're... And when I say alts, I don't mean like someone's alt, like that they made specifically for the group because they don't have enough group space, or that's the alt they use to row wrestle. I mean like alts that are just fake alts only used once. They're just used to boost numbers. We don't want, and unfortunately that has happened, because, like, let's face it, almost every single group with any considerable numbers, even the ones without considerable numbers of members, they have alts in them, and that's, I'm working actually right now I'm kicking a few. I kicked a few previously, and, the ones that aren't really accounts, you know what I mean? Sort of like those ones. So, but yeah, a lot of those are ones that don't come to shows, or are alts of people, or have accumulated through 3 years, I mean, if we had 1,700 people, almost 18, coming closer to 1,800 people that come to shows, booking would be an absolute disaster, even more so than it already is, and it's,
Yeah. So, do you want to add anything else?
No, I think that would cover that base. I don't know if Brooke had anything to add, or if that was a specific to me question.
Okay. What is your opinion on the family? I think I pronounced that right. And didn't know. I don't think you heard the P there, but have you ever heard of them? The family.
The family, XX Phantom Vortex's little group faction thing, rather, whatever they want to be. Guess the best term would just be to call them what their their faction thing name is, his family. Personally, I don't really have an issue with any of them. I don't personally have an issue with any of them. In fact, some of them are good people. It's like not every one of them is a bad person, and I'm not even going to say that people are bad people here. It's just the values that they have said in the past are, poor values, like hating on certain races or whatever it is. But in talent, a lot of them, the ones that are actually notable of the faction, like, because I know they have members go in and out like non-stop, right? But two key ones, Anarchy for Life and XX Phantom Vortex, are both very exceptionally talented, underrated people, and they're not, shown enough for how much effort they put in and how talented they kind of are. And Anarchy, I don't know. I personally do like Anarchy. He seems like a nice guy. It's just, I don't like to judge an entire group, whether it's Anti-Nexus, Anti-Shield, Chinatown, China Squad, whatever the squad is. I don't want to judge the entire squad on what a couple of the people did, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Brookesie, do you want to add anything on this? Because I'm going to be adding something myself.
Not that I can think of, but like Kid said, I don't like love or hate all of them. Like some of them seem like nice people, sort of like you said. I don't have any problems. I see Anarchy a lot at RCW, Phantom Vortex a lot at RCW. None of them do anything to me personally, so I have no reason to hate them.
Okay, am I able to add something on the on family? Oh, okay.
Hey, go ahead.
The family I have no problem with, but the leader, Phantom Vortex, for some reason this person, he always comes up to me when I'm either training in the gym or whatever. I'm just having a laugh with my mates, and he legit just comes up to me out of nowhere. He watches my stream, and he just comes out to me out of nowhere, and just tries to hate on me. And like I said before, I have no problem with the other family members, but this little twat here, I have a real issue with for some reason. But yeah, we're gonna move on to with other comments right now. Wait, what the hell? Someone lagged out there. Jesus. Anyway, let's move on to some more questions. Top 5 most successful people in RCW this year.
Of this year? I mean, there's probably like, there's probably a factual thing to it. Like, obviously someone has won X number of titles or X number of world titles, but I think easy calls for some of the most successful this year, it really fluctuates. In the RCW, like, top division, like the RCW Championship division, the World Heavyweight divisions, Eddie is definitely one of the top guys that you'd have to call, because he's in this year, assuming that, like, the one that he won in December 2015 that he reigned still into 2016. Now I'll count that reign in there. That's 4 RCW title reigns, so that's 4 world titles right there. And, I think he had some other here and there. I'm not quite fully sure what he had. He was going to participate in King of the Ring, so he won his spot in there. But he's won 4 RCW titles, and he's just recently broke the reign for most RCW title reigns and most RCW World title reigns, so like any world title. So that's definitely a top one right there. Damon recently broke the record for the most for WWE. He won King of the Ring, and he's guaranteed the main event of SummerSlam, so that's also a key thing. It's really hard to go into minors and count minors as like a top success of the year, because there's a lot of world champions that are up at the top levels. But Pretty is definitely someone that comes to mind, and I don't want to personally say all my friends again. I don't want to make it seem like my friends are the ones I'm going to deem the most successful. But Pretty has definitely done phenomenal, winning the most United States title reigns this year. A lot of records have been broken this year, phenomenally so. Osuka's been seeing some success. I don't know if he'd be the most successful, but he's definitely seen some success, so good on him for that. Matt Hardy's won a lot quickly. I just realized someone that's definitely successful. Actually, 3 people now that I sort of put that in. Streets has won 2 United States title reigns and 2 RCW title reigns, so that's 4 Raw championships and 2 worlds and 2 minors, and he's only been in here for a few months. So for him to win that much as quick as he did is phenomenal. Reed is also in that boat. Rudy has had a great year this year. I don't know, I'm really rambling with how many people have done successful. And Rabbit and Mattis are also successful. They're the 3rd and 4th Grand Slam champions in history, and the first ones to win the Grand Slam since 2014. So that's like a 2-year gap right there, and they finally got that illustrious accomplishment. So a lot of accomplished people this year. It's a big year for people's accomplishments, and we're only going to see more as the year goes on, no doubt. I don't know how Brooke would feel, but she might have different opinions.
Accomplished?
Yeah.
That's hard. I mean, a lot of the people you said, of course. I guess it's the people you said mostly. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head at the moment.
Yeah.
You can't think of anyone?
Well, she mostly along with my list.
Said most of the people that
Yeah.
I have gone for.
Don't want to take up too much time on the stream with her, just repeating the list. I mean, I'll probably let her answer the next question first, so I'm not taking up too much time, because I have a terrible tendency to rant when I got something to say, so I'll let her go first on the next one.
Okay, now, what is your honest thoughts on Syntix Lintix? I think that's how you pronounce his name. Ever heard of this person?
Isn't that like Cyan or something like that?
Yeah.
With the SSCYXN?
I'll put it in the chat, I'll put it in the chat.
Sure. I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. Let me just look at the chat.
In the Skype chat.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how he wants that pronounced, but I assume like Cyanogic or something like that, because like the X just sort of replacing the normal letters that would be in those words. I would only assume, but he's in Outbreak at the moment. He's won the N1C twice and come just short both times. I think if his desire is to win the Outbreak or Outbreak television #1 contenderships and win the title, he could do that. But I think he'd already, as is, be great on the main roster. I said I would let Brooke answer that first. I'll just leave it there. I will leave that there. He's good, and I think he can win. Brooke, you can go ahead with that.
I mean, I don't have much to say about the guy, for, like, pretty much what you said, and I don't really know him personally, so I can't say anything in that regard, and just that I've seen him in Outbreak and RCW recently. Say about the guy, maybe in a few other places, I'm not too sure, but that's about all. You said most of what I was going to say.
I'm terrible at that.
Stealing her moment again. Jesus. So here's a question. We're gonna do this last question from the chat, then I'm gonna move on to my questions. Opinion on Wolf Cena. Can't see me.
Oh, Brooke, do you want to start with that one, or do you want me to start with that one?
You can start.
Talent-wise, he's not the hardest guy I've ever fought, but he's not the easiest. The guy's giving me a good fight, and I think at TNX once he 2-0'd me, and I've had my experiences 3-0ing the guy. I'm not so sure that we have had a match. I don't think that we've had a match where it was like 3-2 or 3-1. It was either really in his favor or really in my favor, and it might be I was on an off day or he was on an off day. I won't throw shade on anything there, but character-wise, I like that he keeps with Wolf Cena. From my time in the main feds, he's pretty well steady with Wolf Cena from every occasion I've seen him. from what I've seen him, and accomplishment-wise, you can't dispute that. He's pretty accomplished in ORW and RWU when it was still around, and I'm sure elsewhere. Right? But yeah, he's pretty accomplished. I can't dispute his accomplishments there. I won't bother disputing his accomplishments, but you know.
Yep. Okay. So let's move on to some more questions. Now, Brooke, this is a question just for you. What do you think of the women's division? Do you think it's going to get better, or do you think it's going to get worse? Because people like you, do you think there's going to be any more people like you who can only, or the women's division are nothing to you because you don't find like a good challenge in the women's division, so you have to always go to the men's division?
I mean, it's not that I don't find a good challenge in the women's division. It's not the reason I hate it. I just hate it because you get a bad reputation. I don't find that most men take the women's division seriously, and I mean, not that there's a lack of challenging people, it's that there's a lack of new people to fight. You end up fighting the same people over and over, and it becomes repetitive, which is why I don't like it.
Yeah, because
that's not all.
Sorry for interrupting you, but I think the main reason you continuously fight the main people over and over and over again, and this happens to every fed. Most federations are populated by men wrestlers. I mean, if you're gonna get a 50-member fed, you're probably gonna see 1 or 5 women wrestlers maximum, in my opinion. There's not as many women wrestlers as women wrestlers want there to be, because unless you want to go to Wonderful Divas Wrestling, I think it's called. That's the only federation that actually does more Divas matches or women matches than men's matches, I think. So yeah, let's move on to some more questions. So, I just want to point out, have you ever heard of a federation called UCW at all?
That would be United Championship Wrestling.
It's owned by Mazel, if you've ever heard of it.
I know of Mazel's. I've heard of his fed. I've never been to his fed, and I haven't heard anything about it. I've just heard the name around. So no, I don't have anything particular to say in regards to Mazel's fed.
Yeah, same here. I've heard of it, but I've never been. So.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a few more questions, and I may end the stream because we've been streaming for about an hour now. Okay, I'm gonna ask you 2 more questions. First question is, what do you think of me? Have you ever heard of me? And what do you think of me? Just talking to me on the mic.
Well, I'm going to assume most of that comes from your live stream and whatnot, because that's, and, like, not trying to throw shade with anything I say in that regard. It's like, mostly I know you from your podcast. I've watched it in the past. I've seen good, and I've seen some, not as good, but I've seen some good on your podcast. So, I don't know, I got the message from you for, inviting me on the stream and whatnot, and I didn't have a problem with that, because I didn't have too much negative in regard to your stream. And I'm sure if you put if you put effort to it, I'm sure you pro wrestle places I haven't seen, but I'm sure that, enough effort in, and anyone can be as good as they desire to be, so.
Okay. And, do you want to add anything on that? I forgot. Jesus Christ, I forgot her name as well. Watch. Yeah, Brooke. Jesus Christ, I apologize. Brooke, do you want to add anything on that? Or do you want me to move on to the last question for my podcast?
I thought being on your stream was enjoyable. I mean, I'm sorry, but I never actually heard of you until people started to tell me about your live streams, and I started to watch a couple. They all were enjoyable, and it was nice being on here, I guess.
Yeah, and before we go on to the next question, just gonna add one more thing, is I don't have anything negative to say about being on here. It's been,
no, me neither.
I said, we're about to get on to the last question, so it's gonna basically be over a matter of minutes, depending on how long that last question is. But you seem nice. You seem, into doing your podcast, and that's really the best thing you can be. Is whether you're good at it or whether you're not good at it is really someone else's opinion. You do how much effort you want to put in. and you you do what you want to do with your stream, and the product will reflect how much effort puts into it.
Yeah. And send some questions through the chat because it's the last question I will be asked Brooke and Kid. If I don't get one last question, and oh Jesus Christ, you're still in the cough. I thought you died. Opinion on TNX dying.
On TNX dying. I'm not.
I don't really know if it's gonna end up dying, but there's just a lot of controversy around it right now. Like last night, I saw a big rant on Lonnie's Desk FM, and I don't know, it was getting a lot of heat. And yesterday, he showed it in 50, which is out of the ordinary for TNX. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
When it comes to TNX dying, and it's before this, and he's going to change. He is definitely going to change what his interpretation of number one is, and I refer obviously to quantity over quality, quality over quantity, changing up a little bit. There is anyone can shape anything to be number one, and he proves again and again that he is dedicated to his federation. He's done it for 4 years, as he says. But really, if there's something that needs to be fixed up, it needs to be addressed to. If there is something that needs to be fixed up, it needs to be dealt with in that regard. There are obviously people that have problems with it, people that don't have problems with it, and people that love it, So, whatever group you fall into, whether you can't stand TNX in any way that it does, whether you don't, whether you do like TNX and you're a big fan of anything that the Rat does and Rat puts out on the TNX network, as I suppose you would say, or if you can't be indifferent to that in any way, shape, or form, then that's fine. Wherever you stand on the issue is your stance, not someone else's stance. I may not share the same stance as some people, and I may not share stance as the others. So, I don't know so much that it's dying, but I think it has a lot to build on if it's going to take this criticism that it's currently getting into consideration.
Okay, now this will be the last question of the podcast. Who would you like to see next on Don's podcast? For both of you.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like as a Fed owner, another Fed owner would be interesting depending on what they have to say. But not every Fed owner is a talkative person. Not every Fed owner has things to say. So I mean, it's really up to them. I mean, if they don't want to be on Don's podcast, I'm sure it would be no shot to the podcast itself. It's maybe just they don't have a lot to say. They're not a talkative person. That would be fine. I don't know if I'd be able to pick out one person in particular, but having big names kind of draws attention to your stream if that's what you're looking in for. So, I don't know, anyone that's interested in it would probably be my best recommendation.
Yeah, I don't really have a specific person in mind at all. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure if anyone wants to be on it, then messaging you would be probably a good way, and you look at your messages, and if you want to have them on, then you have them on. If you don't want to have them on, then you don't have them on. It's your stream, it's your call, it's your shot, who wants to be on it, That's really how it works. I'm sure.
Okay, now I'm going to end my podcast. I want to thank iBrookesie and kidzrock for coming on my podcast. I really appreciate this. And, yeah, wait, let me just check how many people, because I may do we only got 70, wait, hold on. 72, never mind. So we just hit 72 subscribers in, I think it's 5 days, so that's really cool. I really appreciate, these two lovely people coming onto my podcast, and, yeah, have a nice one, guys.